KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're the Real Estate Rat Pack. Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now, 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack!
Man down!
Good morning,
We've got a man down!
We do have a man down. Yeah, Chris Kelso called it today. It sounded like an obscene phone call.
I can't hear. I can't talk.
So anyway,
my knees are knobby.
Chris, I hope you're listening out there, and we're gonna carry on without you, man. And we've got a good show. This is a show actually I've been wanting to do for a long time. If we get Joe under control,
Obscure Monty Python references. Go ahead.
Yes, we're gonna talk a little bit about home security. We're going to talk, home security. And I'll tell you why we kind of selected this time of year also is that it becomes a target-rich environment. We get into the holiday season where people are buying gifts and they're putting them in the house, and there's a high degree of
lots of people are out shopping, just not always at stores.
It's exactly. They're looking for that 5-finger discount at your house. So
I like the look of their tree.
So
through the window.
but it's a target-rich environment. People know there's stuff there. Then, like you say, people who are displaying a Christmas tree or the Hanukkah bush or whatever, they know that there's going to be gifts around. And what do you do? And so today we have Jacoby Farris on with us. Welcome, Jacoby.
Oh, thank you.
And so we want to talk about is maybe the first consultation with somebody. They don't have a system, and talk about your business a little bit, what you do, how you do it, and then we'll talk about consulting with that consumer and how to get started.
Well, first let us know, too, who you are and who you're with.
Isn't that what I just said?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Yes. No more mimosas for you in the morning, Joe.
Well, yeah, my name is Jacoby Farris. Thank you guys for having me on your show today. I work for Pyrotech Systems here in the Houston and surrounding areas. We do fire and security systems, camera systems, high profile type situations. The thing about home security, as you were talking about, Rob, is usually it's an afterthought. You don't realize you need it until you've been broken into, or you don't think about it. People always, when they buy a home, they buy homeowners insurance, but they usually don't care a lot about the security until it's too late.
And insurance doesn't help you until it's already happened.
Exactly.
So it's like that. And we'll talk. And we have one of our great sponsors, Jason Jimenez, is on the show, and of course he's here to talk about that impact on insurance and things like that. But let's talk about that first consultation. Now, a lot of people are buying new homes, and there's a security system in there. But what I've seen is that they're not necessarily adequate to do everything they want it to do. So kind of talk about that or retrofitting an existing home.
I would say probably 8 times out of 10, that's correct. Especially an older home, 20 or 30 years. If you're lucky, it may have one in it. Or a lot of times like you said, it's an afterthought. So you get into a home, and the system may not have even been used for the last 5-10 years, and it's usually subpar best.
Well, I still have the remnants of an intercom system, and I see those switches at the windows, which anybody could go up and go clip it. So
yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, on the Rat Pack show, something too, we preach this as a message, as a repeated message on this show. It's work with experts in the field. Mm-hmm. I no more want a big box generic realtor to handle my house sale than I want
That is no reflection of Prudential Anderson Property.
Yes.
Just say it.
Yes. I don't mean big box as in, big recognizable name. I mean generic application. The person that says, I specialize in all markets. I sell houses everywhere, Rob.
Okay.
I want an expert in my area. And just the same, I want an expert in home security. Nothing against the big other companies out there that we won't mention the names because they don't sponsor our shows. Nothing against those guys.
Does that mean we have to sponsor you now?
Yeah. I think he understands the program now.
He's catching on, Rob.
I didn't know we were that transparent.
We want to work with folks that specialize in their industry, that are experts in their industry. And one thing that we were putting out feelers and talking to folks about home security and having somebody on that you said that really sparked my interest was that you treat every home as a unique product, as its own environment, and that you walk that environment with the customer to figure out what their concerns are before you build a system. So it's not the, hey, here's the $99 special, move in, and you get 3 sensors and an angry Chihuahua. So tell us about the process, leading up to how you recommend a system for somebody.
Well, first of all, the thing that I've learned being in the business for 15 years is that no two properties, no two people want the same thing out of a security system. There's different things they want to protect. There's different things that they have concerns with. There's different wants and desires they want as far as performance of the security system. Now, today's technology, you can arm and disarm your system from your Android phone or your iPhone. Look, you can see a camera when it's motion activated. It'll flash the video image in front of your screen. Some people don't want to go that high speed. Some people just want to, scare the bad guys away with a big loud siren. The thing about it is, it's like I said, it's what you want. It's what's the layout of your house? What do you have in your house that you're concerned with? What do you have outside your house? Do you have boats? Do you have RVs? Do you have four-wheelers? Do you have a shed with a carpentry deal that you want to, you got to, some people can have $1,000 of equipment in a man cave. I mean, seriously, in all
you
all
can
fairness.
protect my vintage 8-track collection.
I'm thinking more like $50,000 worth of stuff.
Easy. So it's, what do you want? What can I provide to you to protect what you have?
And what are you seeing people put in a lot of surveillance systems?
Surveillance has come a long way over the last 5 years. It's almost become mandatory with regards to home security system and commercial. People, and I'll give you an example.
We hoped you would.
Our company services has a customer in Alvin, and they got broke into, and the guy obviously had cased the place before. They had one camera in the front, and the guy walked up, spray painted the camera, and took the coin machine out of the back of the building. Didn't get to see his face. Of course, it was a 24-hour type of business, so there was no arming and disarming of a security system, so no security alarm. And the police told him, unless we have facial recognition, there's nothing we can do. And so, camera system.
So how do you make a camera less obvious?
Well, I can take you to a couple places right now that you never find the camera.
What? So when you're doing a residential installation, I mean, do you? I've walked up to houses and I look up and I can see that camera.
Yeah,
but
that camera saw you a long time before you saw it. I could almost guarantee you, if it was aimed right and things of that sort. The biggest thing with camera systems and what people don't realize is the aspect of cross zoning. Having cameras overlapping and looking at each other and looking, so that if one camera does get, destroyed or whatever, the other camera saw the event happening. And a lot of people fail to understand that aspect.
All right, let's do a kind of a walkthrough scenario. I've got a 3,000 square foot house that was built in 1985 and really have nothing in there. And I want all my windows protected. I want break detectors, and I want motion detectors in some of the rooms, but I have a pet, so I want to make sure I don't have it in every room. Mm-hmm. Walk me through that.
Walk you through the process. Well, when I walk into a door or walk into a house, I'm thinking, kind of like a criminal mindset. Where would I come in?
That's really scary, Jacoby.
Yeah, well,
he looked a little seedy, Rob.
Yeah, it's the serial stalker in me.
You heard it here, folks.
and we got proof. Okay, so I'm
about that sponsorship.
Anything I can do to get us out of it.
The fee just went up.
But and I say that because I've seen break-ins. I've seen the aftermath of break-ins. I've seen things that have happened. So I try to think, where are you vulnerable? Where are you vulnerable? A lot of people love windows, but windows are real easy to get into.
Yeah.
Is that the most vulnerable place in a house is windows?
I would say 9 times out of 10, someone's going to break a window versus trying to jimmy open a door or a lock. And there comes in the glass break.
Of course, I remember I had built a house out in the country. I had a break detector, and every time we had a thunderstorm, it was calling the police.
It can. They are sensitive. I could slam my keys up against one and set it off. I can drop a plate in the kitchen and set one off. They are sensitive. But there's bypass methods of when you're home and not home and things of that sort. You can turn them on, turn them off if you choose. But yeah, the whole pet thing. There's pet sensitive motion sensors that doesn't pick up objects under 40 pounds, stuff like that. So like I said, it is really a specific scenario to what your need is, your house is.
Now, how do you handle it? I mean, again, it's hard to retrofit a house because, a lot of houses come pre-wired and then you can add your components as you come in. But you've got a house that is not wired and you want sensors on the windows. Are they all wireless sensors? And how does that work? What kind of technology is that?
Well, there are wireless sensors. There are hardwired sensors. Typically, especially on a 2-story house, very difficult to get wire down to the first floor without destroy,
Yeah,
messing
tearing up
up
the house,
tearing
yes.
up sheetrock. So yeah, there are wireless devices that control things for you and stuff like this.
Are window sensors still common? Is that practical route for people
Oh
to
yeah.
go? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Windows, doors, but like I said, not always do they open the window.
And of course, one of the things is as a deterrent. If someone, I'm sure you put your little sign out front that there is a system here that
yeah.
people are going to go. They're going to take the least line of resistance. They can break in. They go, I'm going to go to the house that doesn't have one. So I'm sure it gives you kind of a
Sell
a
sign
leg up.
kits?
They come with the package.
I just want some stickers for the windows and the signs. How about
I
that?
promise you, there's people out there doing that.
I'm sure.
But
Or they move into a house, they just never take it down.
That's right,
Yeah.
and I see it all the time where I'm protected by.
Yeah.
But you really do need the
This
protection
sign.
because the people have gotten emboldened, and I've heard some break-ins in some really nice areas in Houston, and so we've always got to be on that cutting edge of what can we do better. There's people breaking in homes when people are at home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's scary. And I don't even know how you defend against that. But I guess the camera is probably the best way to kind of proactively surveil around your house and see who's walking up to your front door.
Cameras are the first deterrent. Cameras are your first line of defense, so to speak.
And
you
a
guys-
Smith & Wesson 357 doesn't hurt.
Yeah. When backed into a
Yes.
corner, so to speak.
Do you guys do any kind of lighting outside, motion lighting or anything like that?
That is a possibility. I haven't done that in a while. I have in times past. The thing about it is though, with cameras, they have cameras that go down to such a low lux setting that it would almost have to be pitch black, tree coverage, no moon, no stars, to not get a good picture. You
Wow.
know,
So the technology really has kind of cut it with that stuff.
the technology.
Because
is
it used to
there.
be that you'd have to have a light come on.
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe you're going to get a fuzzy picture of this
Right.
blur that's going across the yard. So it has really changed like that.
Oh, yeah.
We're down to already coming up on the break, so I want to make sure folks know how to get a hold of you for a custom consultation with them.
Again, our number, our company name is Pyrotech Systems out of Alvin, Texas. The office phone number is 281-585-0585, and my cell number is 832-585-7368. And my name's Jacoby.
Well, we're going to ask you to stick around because we're going to have our last section where we talk about it all together and roll the thoughts together, so don't leave.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And plus, we've probably got some other questions. Hopefully, get some call-ins and tell them what the phone number is.
Yeah,
Let's see if I'm gonna,
800-808-5548.
I just wanted to know if
I know,
you could
you
do
just
it.
threw me on the spot. We'll be right back.
Oh, the shark, babe, has such teeth, dear, and it shows them pearly white. Just a jackknife has old Maggie Heath, babe, and it keeps it out of sight. You know when that shark bites with its teeth, babe, scarlet billows start to spread.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're back. Yes, time flies when you're having fun. Guys, we are talking about home security, the holidays, getting ready for the holidays, and that's something that not everybody thinks about. You're all running around buying presents and stuff, gearing up for the friends and relatives to come over, and it's a vulnerable time of the year. It's a time of break-ins and all that sort of thing. As we mentioned earlier, it's not something you think about until it's too late. We've got a crew of people here today, experts in their fields. We've got home security, and we've got photography up next here. You wouldn't think photography, home security. Yes, those things go together. But as all things Rat Pack, we have an expert in the field, and we're going to talk about something really unique and one of those things that you just don't think about as a homeowner, and that's documenting your valuables. Mike Stolte. I said it right.
Yes.
You did. Thank you.
But, a double edge, there's two pieces of what Michael does. And I want to be able to talk about both of them. Because,
Yeah.
One of the things that I always object to, of anyone who goes through the MLS and they're looking at $1 million homes, all of a sudden they look at this fuzzy picture that's kind of yellow. And from a consumer standpoint, they'll move on to the next thing. And it's so
You're
important
absolutely right.
for everyone to understand out there, if you're hiring a realtor and you're selling regardless of what you're selling, get a professional photographer to come take those pictures. Good grief.
Experts work with
Put
experts.
Put down your cell phone, real
Put-
estate
Yes.
agents.
Put down your cell phone.
down.
And anyway, so I don't want to miss that aspect of it, but I think it's what you do, and you were starting to talk about it before the show, is kind of how you work with homeowners and insurance companies. So kind of talk about that.
That's correct. It's called digital insurance documentation, and basically what this does, it's really a security blanket. You know, we think of break-ins and thefts and whatnot, and we're talking about home safety, but in all reality, you have fires, you have water damage, you have floods, you have natural disasters. Even in the Houston area, houses get destroyed.
There's floods in Houston?
No, never.
Really?
Come on.
But basically what we do in a nutshell is we'll go in and we'll digitize all of your important possessions, whether it be heirlooms, silver, jewelry, gun collections, your TVs. And what happens is we have to deal with insurance companies. And the homeowner sometimes will forget, oh, well, I had this or I had this. You know, when you have a break-in, your mind is not thinking what has been stolen. Your mind is racing in 500 different directions.
Yeah, I've been violated.
Honey, save the vintage
Right.
8-track ABBA collection.
That's right.
So, and
Oh,
it's
you
a
too,
lot,
aren't you?
right? It's a lot more than just going in with a camera and taking some snapshots. Because what we do is we do, you, of course, use a camera. We also use panoramic images as well. So 360-degree panoramic images. You can be able to view this virtually online. It's there forever. You can see where things were. Oh, yeah, I missed that, and it's not there anymore, or whatever the case may be. If you've had pipes burst, I know a real estate agent right now that she went out of town for a week, and for one solid week, a commode destroyed
Oh, my.
her house in Glenlock.
Well, that sounds very familiar.
So
4 days at the beach while a commode was running at my house.
exactly, and it starts from upstairs, not
Yes.
on
Yes.
the ground level. You're at the top, water flowing down out
Yeah.
of the house. Things are destroyed.
Number one rule of plumbing.
Yeah.
One of
Water
the-
rolls downhill.
Exactly. One of the things that we can do is when the homeowner sits down with the insurance agent, say, here's what it is, here's the current value, you know, when I had this done, and this is going to help the insurance agent as well because it's all digitized on a high-res DVD. You can get up to 5 copies. You know, we start out on a basic home with basic stuff, about $500 to do that.
Holy
Wow.
cow! It's just funny how radio works, right? I talked to Mike
This
now.
is working, huh?
I talked to Mike, and let me just back up. You know, I was having an event, and I needed a photographer for the event, and it had one.
And by the way, you made me look good, Michael. I
Yes,
appreciate that.
appreciate
and
that.
just on an emergency kind of status, had to put the word out that I needed a photographer. He came highly recommended, checked out his work, and while we were talking on the phone, he mentioned this. I said, holy cow, we're having a home security show. You need to be on it. And now sitting here listening to this exact scenario, I had a toilet tank upstairs that just said, you know, this whole tank thing is overrated. I'm tired of holding water. Yeah. I want to be a vase.
So how'd that work out?
Yeah. So for 4 days, the water ran, you know, from upstairs to downstairs, and it just happened to run straight through the ceiling, down over the antique curio cabinet that my wife's grandmother had given her,
Oh, my.
that was full of her collection of Barbie dolls. And these are, you know, some of them were 20 plus, 30 years old, in boxes, all this sort of thing. And she had like 50 of them in there. We had to go through and take pictures of them, look them up on the internet, all the stuff he's sitting there talking about. And I didn't even think about that until he mentioned the water break.
That's right.
And I'm going, oh my God, that was like 2 days of work. It was a nightmare. And wow, I should have hired you back then.
So, Michael, you chronologue everything?
We chronologue the most important things. I mean, we're not going to say, okay, your custom kitchen cabinet that you put in, that's going to be kind of put with your homeowner's insurance. Because even though everybody has to go get homeowner's insurance, it's not going to really cover all your personal stuff. You get it once, and then guess what? You're adding, and you're adding, and you're adding. You get a new table. Do you go back to your insurance agent? Hey, I got a new table. It's valued at this. We want to make sure it's under the blanket. You're going to get only so much dollars per those items.
Yeah.
But with us, we document it. We research it. We get you the best fair market value for that at the current time with dates, So when something does happen, you have it all right there on a DVD. If you lose
cool.
the DVD,
Yeah.
just give me a call.
Yeah.
I'll burn you another one.
Put it in the cloud too.
I mean,
Put
we
it up
are
on
not
Dropbox and leave it there.
We're not going anywhere. We are here to service our clients for the long haul.
Exactly, and of course we'll be talking with Jason Jimenez with Jason Jimenez Insurance about some of this stuff, and he can attest to the difficulty it is to make a claim when you have no thing that you can like. Oh yeah, I really did have that.
Right.
That rare Renoir, and it's burnt to a crisp.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's a lot of things that either, if you have a fire, I mean, you can't go back and go, oh, well, what did I have? It's burnt. It's
Well, and
wood,
memory,
whatever.
too. Just trying
It's
to remember
memory.
all that stuff.
Right. And you're having to deal with getting everything in line with the insurance agent, and then you're going to miss something.
yeah, and Joe had a recent experience about remembering things because he went out and cleaned out his garage this last week.
Yes.
Did you remember he had all that stuff?
Yeah.
He did have that
How many?
birthday
Eight
yesterday.
eight
45.
bags of stuff. Oh yeah, by the way, happy birthday.
Thank you.
45 years young.
That's correct. I have, and the wife and kids listen to the show every week, which I am still amazed by.
Yeah, and,
But,
and Kim, somehow or other, I am going to work in that, you could get a new house with a 3-car garage, and which would rectify a lot of those issues you're having about having to get rid of stuff, having that, little gym inside the garage and all that stuff. So I'll work that in somewhere.
Hint,
Or
hint.
I just did.
Give the wife, yeah, exactly.
hint.
I'm like, sly again. Every show we're talking about Joe getting a new house here because I made the mistake of mentioning at one point that we're going to be looking. So anyway, coolest wife on the planet with the kids. They cleaned out the whole garage and turned it into a gym. So there's my shameless plug for the wife and kids.
But the point being is that you start going through stuff, and I do it
Yeah.
all the time, because I've got a lot of collectibles and things like that I have in boxes.
Exactly.
I don't remember any of that stuff. So
we
of
have
course,
things
time to
up in our,
purge.
we have things in our attics, in our garages, in boxes. I mean, I was watching TV the other day, and they had this junk collector, and he walked into this person's house, and they found $1,000 U.S. bonds, and the value was probably $320,000, and they only had like 11 of these.
Won't be finding that at my house. I've already looked.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm going to
man,
tear
I
my
wish...
garage apart looking for those.
right. But, this is something that I forged a relationship with a company called Realtor Vision back in 2006. And this is something that is part of their arsenal, that as a real estate photographer dealer with Realtor Vision, we can now offer digital insurance documentation. We can now offer beyond the scope of just real estate photography.
Yeah, I think that's a really important. Again, the chronicling pieces, and it can be very tedious, especially when you're talking about something that has a lot of collectibles, like the
Right.
50 Barbies. You
Yeah.
know, that's 50 different values out there, because
Yep.
I know some of them can go for tens of thousands of dollars, and some can go for 50 cents.
Yep.
Right.
So you got to have to identify it, and maybe even have them somehow or another legitimatized.
We had
by
$30
an-
Barbies, and we had $300 Barbies.
Yeah, I mean, so that type of stuff, if you don't have that information, that's a loss. And of course, if you have rising waters, that's all bets are off anyway, because
Right.
FEMA pays off very differently than.
Well, and there was, an aspect. it was legitimately kind of a little interesting moment for me thinking about that, because there was an aspect of the value of those things are related to the original condition of them, and so having to show a box in good condition and all this sort of thing, and now it's just been damaged by water. And so having the picture before and after would be a really beneficial thing.
If you
Right.
had them in boxes, you had a loss, and of course, if you don't have a photo of it, the adjuster is going to look and go,
It is
Really?
hard for
Yeah.
the adjuster to take your word. They need physical proof.
and you really can't blame them. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure there's probably a
absolutely.
lot of insurance fraud out there, and Jason, you may have some stats on that, but people will want to get as much as they can for the stuff that they've lost.
Right.
But you've got to be able to somehow or another verify that you have. That's 2 minutes, Joe.
2 minutes, yeah. 2 minutes. That's what he means by two fingers.
Our producer is putting up. We've got 2 minutes to our break. And,
I thought he was throwing a gang sign. I was about to show him my colors.
yeah, we oh my. So let's talk about the aspects of starting.
Mike and I
this
are gonna throw
process.
down.
Yes, the process of starting with somebody. You're consulting with them, and
Sure.
you just say, look, we need to hit your main items. I mean, you're talking about there's different levels of service. So talk about that a little bit.
When we have that first consultation, either on the phone or in person, one of the things that the homeowner needs to take in effect or in account is what are the high-priced items that you want digitally
And
documented.
scheduled items also.
Scheduled items that you want to digitally document that's going to be, let's face it, you buy a flat screen TV, in 5 years there's going to be a new one. You're going to get a new one. You can always call us back out. We can always update the DVD, always update the panoramic images. But let's just, one of the things that we go through and say, okay, what are your priority list or items that you need to digitally document? And then we go from there, take pictures, do the research, put it all together in a nice little PDF spreadsheet, pop it on a DVD, and they get several copies of that. So, number one, they can keep it in their post office box, type thing, security box at the bank, on their computer, wherever, and give a DVD to your insurance agent.
Mike, we are already coming up against a break. So
Really, this time.
I want to make sure that folks know how to get a hold of you for this really cool service.
Sure. My name is Mike Stolte, owner and main photographer for Michael's Photography Studio. You can reach me online at www.michaelsphotographystudio.com or give me a call, 832-247-0634.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're back. Also, with us today, one of my most interesting subjects to talk about is insurance, because it's really such a glamour conversation to have. And I was just telling Jason Jimenez, who's sitting right next to me, shaking his head, I said, when people start talking insurance, my eyes glaze over. But, it coming in this time of year, things are changing in your life, and it's a time to actually look at it. And I'd like to address some of the things that Michael was talking about chronicling. Welcome to the show again, Jason.
I appreciate it. I've always enjoyed being here, and you make it very easy.
And one of our great sponsors, too. I got a hand
raised. I was just
going
to say, we all know who you are because you're a regular on the show, but make sure our listeners know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I own an insurance firm. It's called Jason Jimenez Insurance Agency. We second-generation insurance company. Been in business for, actually, this November, it'll be 15 years.
Yeah, congratulations.
Nice.
So we are very blessed. We're going strong. Our agency is about 14,000 clients strong with my family's business as well. And it's all about simple, basic, keep it simple. What is it? KISS method?
Yes.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yes.
Whatever
Simple,
it is.
stupid. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Whatever it is. Either way, but the thing is that our principles, based on this theme of the show today, is you're not the same person you were a year ago. Something changed. And ultimately, you need to be reminded that because you have life, you have children, you have a lot of things that come into play that sometimes you always forget. And our job is to make sure that we educate you on what you have and what you don't have.
Yeah, and we're talking about some of the things that Michael was bringing up that he chronicles and stuff. And I know this has got to be a challenge for you, is that you've had a client maybe for 10 years.
Yeah.
They have a fire.
Yeah.
Or, a flood or whatever, something stolen. And they said, well, Jason, I had this and I had this. And what do you have to tell them?
Well, that's one of the most difficult calls I have to make. It's either because someone passed away and they didn't purchase a life insurance policy, but yet they were offered one, or the scenario that we recommended, if you will, for them to get replacement costs versus actual cash value, or just the fact that we plead to them that it is important for them to come do an annual review at least once a year. Again,
and call Michael to have it chronicled.
I mean, it's important. And, the topic today, especially on the photography standpoint, it's extremely important. Part of our presentation when a client comes in on an annual review is literally just recommending things that they could do themselves to put them in a better position. And one of those things is really, quite frankly, is to be able to understand that you will probably hardly anybody ever saves receipts. So how do you prove that?
I definitely never save
Right?
receipts.
So
I'm the worst.
Exactly.
I'm throwing it away on the way out of the store. I don't even want it in the car,
Right. I mean, but nowadays with technology, you have the capacity to be able to do multiple things. You can take a picture of your phone. You can upload it. There's a system out there called Dropbox that I think is phenomenal. One of the things that we actually do is we actually recommend our clients is, look, take your photos. And what you do, sir, I think is very good. And I would love to continue the conversation, because if a realtor can go in and purchase that service for when they buy their home, and you go in there and take the pictures, when they sell their home, why not do it when they move in after 3 months later when everybody's already set up as well? And within that, take that photo, submit it to the insurance carrier. We have a Dropbox system where our clients, when they take photos of their every single room, they'll add us to their Dropbox, which means at the end of the day, if they ever leave us, they can just say, hey, I don't want you to have access to my stuff, because they're in control of it. And it gives us as an insurance company the capacity to streamline the process. Because at the end of the day, when you report a claim, we then submit you to the claims department. It's an adjuster. depending on the carrier that you're working with, it may be a adjuster that knows the rules and laws of Texas, or it may be an adjuster if there's a catastrophe like a hurricane that comes around, that they'll hire people from other states that may not know the rules and regulations here. They're just hiring them because they're just bombarded with claims. So by having that, you give the client power. You give them, put them in and give them leverage to make sure that they're educating that adjuster, because that's all they're going off of what you tell them, to the point of earlier. And it really, really helps out the process. And especially because at the end of the day, every day that goes by that you don't have money to get you back where you were is rough.
Yeah, it's very rough. And of course, most people look at like starting from scratch, because most people would be starting from scratch.
They
would.
would.
Photograph everything, chronicle everything, receipts for everything. It's almost like getting ready for doing your taxes. It's about that exciting, and I can only speak for myself. I have a tendency to want to procrastinate. In my world, October 15th is the filing date.
Yeah.
So,
by the way,
just saying.
Classic.
And I did get it in on time, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
I mean, that's the thing. This is where you have a chance to be a little proactive. They may not do it yourself. Someone like Michael can come in and say, look, I'll do it for you.
yeah.
And
Because by human nature, as humans, typically we're lazy. And it's not because we don't want to. It's just the fact that
I
life
want
just
somebody else to do it. That's what I want.
Exactly.
I just want it done for me. I want
You
it
know
done.
what? I talked to a guy, and we're going to have him on the show. I was talking to Rob about it. He's the CEO of a financial company called People Helping People, PHP. Patrick Ben
Well, he's
David.
already getting free publicity.
Already getting free publicity. And one of those great stories, somebody that came from overseas, immigrated here, and it's just a success, and it's a great story. But he said something that really struck me when I was talking to him on the phone yesterday. He said, humans tend to be lazy until something grabs their heart.
Yep.
And I thought that was just a brilliant
or
way to
grabs
say
their
it.
belongings.
And I was just going to say, and that's exactly it. We are lazy about documenting our valuables. We're lazy about checking out that we have the proper insurance coverage. We're lazy about making sure that our home is secure until something grabs our heart.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more heart-grabbing than someone breaking into your house and violating the safety of your home.
That's
my
a
home
perfect word for it.
My home got broken into when I was a little kid, and
You will never forget that, I bet.
Oh no! I mean, I got goosebumps now just even thinking about it again. But coming home as a little kid, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, and seeing all of the drawers in my room pulled open, and all the, I had the Atari back then, the original Atari, and all that stuff on the floor, and just dumped everywhere, and stuff gone through, closet doors all open and everything. They just rifled through everything.
Yeah.
We were gone for the weekend. They were watching the house. They knew when we were leaving, that type of thing. They had all the time in the world.
And that's another reason, don't post on Facebook, I'm leaving town.
Yes.
And then have your address on your Facebook.
Right,
So be
exactly.
careful about that social media.
So it's one of those things where it doesn't grab us until we experience that. Or it happens to somebody near us. So, our show is meant to, we have fun and all this sort of thing, but it's always really geared at trying to educate our listeners. It's all about real estate. This touches real estate, and if it's one of those things that we can encourage our listeners to give you a call, it doesn't cost anything just to examine where they're at. How many people do that? Okay, it's like, guys, it's Saturday. How much do you have going on? Make the phone call.
It doesn't even have to be me.
Yeah.
Call your own insurance
Yes.
company, because at the end of the day, it's just a matter of knowing what you have and what you don't have. I'm going to tell you, right now, not all insurance companies give discounts for alarm insurance. And that's
Really?
a false
It
statement.
just depends on,
It
you
depends
have
on
multiple
what
carriers, is that correct?
I represent multiple carriers, so at the end of the day, there's varieties, but some of them say that they include the discount automatically. We all have, all insurance companies talk to each other. We go through the clue, we have a clue system that back there
I
tells us.
knew y'all were talking
Yes,
to each
we
other.
do. Yes, we do. I know what happens. But the reality is, you don't know that unless you actually make the phone call and just ask a question. Do I have this or do I not have this? That's all it takes.
We have a repeated show that comes on, What You Don't Know Can Hurt You. That's a repeated theme. And this is such a perfect subject for that, because insurance is, probably at the top of that list of things that you don't know that can hurt you. I've had personal friends that went through some serious financial difficulties because they thought they had the right flood coverage on properties that were down near the beach.
Yep.
And when Ike came through, took out a property, and they were left holding the bag themselves and trying to recover from that, and it wiped them out.
They basically
this is
sell by
actually-
the pound, I think, don't they?
Yeah, there's two things right now that people need to be aware of. If you are in the coast, there's what we consider Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. So anything east of I-45, I-46, you are considered Tier 1. you are no longer, if you had a flood insurance policy and you were grandfathered in, that is going away in January. You are now going to be rated just like everybody else, which means your rates are going to skyrocket.
Wow.
So that is something that is people need to prepare for and need to understand, especially if the closer they are to the coast. That's one of those things. Everybody knows that reform is coming, right? Or it's here. And all those things that end up coming in and affecting your pocketbook is going to affect everything else. Because my job is not to sell you home insurance. My job is to protect your transportation, your shelter, your life, and your business. If one of those goes into disarray, it will affect everything else. And at the end of the day, everything is about what's the price. Because the higher and the more I have to spend out in one area of my life, I'm going to have to look at other areas to see where I have to cut. And that's the reality. It's just all mathematics at that point.
Do you find that when people come to you that and they have existing insurance that they're underinsured most of the time?
All the time.
All the time.
Because there's a difference between what someone think it's worth because of sentimental, emotional, just basic value, and there's what people would be willing to pay for it. That's real estate, right? So,
but we do have historic data for real estate. I mean, we do have this house sold for this on this street
right.
and stuff like
but
that.
Because
so
somebody was willing to pay for that.
Right. Open market. Willing
Exactly.
seller, willing buyer.
Exactly. And so it goes back to that. It goes back to the basics 101s of knowing exactly what you have, what you don't have, but then empowering yourself about what to do when you don't have it. Because the reality is not every insurance policy is the same. Even though we all have a core group of coverages that every company is going to provide, the rest of it is about cookie cutters and what you want and what you don't want.
Real quickly, and can I kind of alluded to it in talking with Michael, is that you're talking about scheduled item. Kind of explain to people out there what a scheduled item is and how they can go about getting insurance on those specific items.
Those are items specifically that you want to insure that are in addition to what your current policy is already covering.
And typically
right?
those would be what kind of items?
So you're looking at watches, you can look at paintings, you can look at jewelries, you can look at items of value. Typically what we'll do is we'll support those by appraisals, and those appraisals can't be any less than 6 months when we actually go and insure them.
Because what I find is that people don't really think about how much they have in the way of assets. I mean, just think from an electronic standpoint and a replacement cost. People have iPads, they have phones, they have flat screen TVs, they've got a lot of stuff that they probably don't understand that they're not going to get. That $2,000 they paid for that TV back, they're going to get whatever the market rate is for 2-year-old flat screen TV, which might be what, $250, $300, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a difference.
So you want to have a replacement cost on some of that stuff.
There's a definition. Actual cash value is what most policies come with. It gives you what it actually costs at the time of loss, or replacement costs. That's what we recommend, flat out. It will give you what it costs to replace at the time of loss. That's a huge difference.
It is a huge difference. I can see where people could end up like your friends that end up flooded. And, of course, FEMA pays off very differently than everybody else out there because they don't give you value. They have a certain formula.
Absolutely.
That, your house is destroyed, but we're only going to pay you this much back.
Yep. Jason, folks need to have their situation reviewed, talk to an expert today. So how do they get a hold of you?
713-270-0073.
Are we against a break again?
Already.
Okay,
flies.
it's time to go then. We'll be back in about a couple minutes.
800-808-5548. Give us a shout. We've got one little segment left.
She hugged back like the sailor said, quote, ain't that a hole in the boat?
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
I love that intro.
I'm like you, Joe. I want that guy to follow us around, and here's Joe. Exactly.
Joe is in the kitchen cooking dinner.
I hear reality show.
He's poured himself a Chardonnay. One too many, if I might add.
We're talking about home security and things that you can do and things you can do to protect yourself. And so now this is what we call our free for all. We've had three people on talking about different aspects of it. Mike with the photography, Jacoby with the security systems, and of course Jason with insurance. And so these businesses all relate to each other, and they cross,
almost like we planned that.
Almost
or something.
like it's amazing how these shows turn out. So let's talk about. And Jason, let's start with you. We've been talking about people are undervalued and stuff like that, and how would you talk with them about people who have alarm systems or things like that, and what would you recommend if they're have like these, Jason, I'm moving inside the loop, and I know, this one of those transitional areas. What can I do? What would you tell them?
I'll tell you this: if somebody wants to get in your house, they're going to get in your house.
Yeah,
that's a reality.
The only thing that you could do is to do things that are going to prevent them or make them think twice, or another second, or another 5 seconds, because every second means a lot. And so it's a matter of just getting there and like expressing to them the things that they can do, like motion sensors, like things that people can see. If they see that there's cameras out there or even a signage out there that prevents this. I mean, I tell this to realtors from a liability standpoint. Don't put a real estate sign outside, and this is my personal opinion, but don't put a real estate sign out there without saying by appointment, because if it's your own home and you're an investor, you're inviting them in. If they trip and fall, you've now exposed yourself. So it's just a matter of it's depending of the deterrence that you can put together to make it harder for them.
And I can tell you just on the address of that, because if you put your home on the market, invariably somebody's going to walk up, knock on your door,
Absolutely,
and want you to see it. And a lot of people say, "Oh, okay, come on in."
Yeah.
But the answer is, please make an appointment with my agent, and that way you can verify that they are who they are and things like that.
And you can vet them.
And you do have exposure during that listing time. It's like who's in my house, who's showing up, and in probably 30 years, I've never had anything stolen from a listing. But I always tell people, I don't want you to be my first one.
Absolutely.
Pack away all your valuables. Just get that Rolex watch out of plain view. Never leave cash around. I mean, there's the 30-second elevator speech I use is that, you know what, you're moving anyway. Go ahead and pack that stuff up.
Exactly.
Get it somewhere else and protect it. And now that brings up a point, is that they've got items like they're packing it up, moving it somewhere off-site. Do you have to have additional insurance if you're taking it off-site?
Some policies actually protect your items as long as you notify that it is going to be at a secured location, locked up, storage, for example. Your insurance policy will extend to that.
Because people who take their iPads and things into their cars.
Yep.
And it's covered. These are buying electronics, but I had in my car. I mean, is that something that you have to address
all the time? Because at the end of the day, the items that belong in your home belong in your home. But there's things like your golf clubs or your iPad, your cell phone, things that you may take out on a trip. That trip may be just to the golf course. It may be to the mall. You're still taking it outside of something that belonged in your home, outside of that. There is personal property coverage off of premises that will cover that. Subject, obviously, to making sure you do document it as well as you do report it, because we're not just going to say it because you said it.
And I would imagine those are probably two of the biggest things that do travel offsite. There's going to be golf clubs, and how much can you have invested in a graphite set of golf clubs?
Right.
I mean,
right.
You probably have $10,000 in that, and
easily.
And how mobile? Well, when you start hitting that below par, we'll get you a better set.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, that's really good things, and so.
Yeah,
that's kind of stuff that people need to look at. And so when, Jacoby, let's kind of move to you in the security aspect is, and again, I'd love for y'all to ask each other questions on here, because I'm sure there's something that's going to inspire you. It's like, well, wait a minute. They've got these kind of valuables and stuff like that, and they want to specifically say, look, I've got this, and maybe it's expensive jewelry, maybe it's expensive electronics, and you say, you know what, if they took some other stuff, I don't care, but if they take this, I'm really going to be upset. So do you address building your systems in that fashion?
Yeah, buy a safe. No.
And that's not a bad idea. That's another whole story.
Yeah, no. That's where you go back to the surveillance. Where are these items in your home? You've got an expensive set of golf clubs. They stay in your hallway closet, or what have you. Do you have a camera on that closet? If those golf clubs get stolen and the perp turns around, or is that boom, there you go.
He's using that technical, the perps.
Think like a criminal.
You're scaring me a little bit now. and of course that goes back to Michael, is that you do have an expensive set of golf clubs, and
that's right.
You take a picture of every club, and what you paid for. A lot of times you do buy them a set, but I know people buy those big drivers, the graphite drivers, and they'll pay a fortune for them. I think they're all little golfers are a little on the nutty side, but
I have a question.
Reality.
I have a question. What kind of packages do you offer?
Well, when you say package, I don't want you to get into this rut of, okay, this is what you get. This is a base package. No, like I said, we do try to customize the home, and it's like I said, it's what you want. do we have a base 4 camera package? Yeah, I can, but no, I don't. You know,
does that answer your question?
Well, no, and about
Every home is a
running for
custom.
politics.
Well, you know, I mean,
Every home is a custom system.
Well, yeah, you got to understand that because every home is different. Every need is different, and this is why they need to call Jacoby and have Jacoby come out and walk the premises with the homeowner.
Can I put the same camera on the outside of Rob's home that I do Joe's home? Yes, I may be able to, but I don't know until I see your home. I have to look at like we were talking about the low light cameras. How wooded is your house? Are you in a subdivision? Are you going to? How close are you to the street? What kind of lens do I need so I don't catch cars so they're driving by every day? So you're not getting an alert because your neighbor pulled out of their driveway. You know, so that's what I mean by the customization. You know, and unless you want to see, you know, unless you want to know when your neighbor,
Well, we're not going to go there
because he's suspicious.
Can we point this camera directly at my neighbor's house? Or
the neighbor's pool.
I mean, if he's poisoning your wife's roses, then we'll catch him. Okay.
Okay. Well, we've reached another new low.
Yes, I'm going to say. Wow, I think it's a little early for this show.
I always like to set those benchmarks,
But you know,
what
what Jacoby's system is simply, you know, if a homeowner wants to go out and get a camera system, they can go to the local.
You can buy the little
Club,
4-pack
and,
camera
but
system.
they're not going to be any good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be the fuzzy pictures. It's what you pay for.
Yeah, and I
you
see
get
a lot
what
of
you pay
those
for.
DIY type of systems where you can go out and buy, 4 cameras and
at Fry's or something like that. Yeah,
exactly.
You can buy it, and I replace more of them than I do put in new. I'm not kidding, because the homeowner buys it. I ran the wires in my attic. I put these cameras up. Wow.
And we'll leave it at that.
You can't see you can't see past your sidewalk.
That's like the person that put their satellite dish up. Oh, I don't need to pay $200 to have somebody else put that dish up. I can do it.
Yeah.
But you do get those guys, and hey, props to them for being proactive. But like Mike was saying, you do get what you pay for, and you can do it yourself. Fine, by all means do it. Are you gonna like it in the end? And that's what I'm concerned about. Are you gonna like it? Is this camera system going to last you while the length of the stay in the house?
Do you find that people closer in are more concerned than people that are out in the burbs, say, or is it equal?
It's kind of 50-50. Like I was telling, like we was talking about before the show. I did a person's ranch up in Montgomery one time.
Yeah, that was a cheap segue into that, by the way.
But as much as I've done work in the country or in the burbs or whatever, I've done work in the city as well.
So what you do on a ranch? What do you do? You go point it at a cow, or tell me what that looks like?
We try to catch the birds, the bird watching. No, this guy was actually having problems with people mudding on his ranch.
Oh, okay.
So he wanted,
wow.
Yeah, he wanted to cover all his points of access, to where his gates were and stuff like that.
He had a lot of trespassing.
Yeah, he had a
like
lot of trespassing
like
going
so,
on.
wow, that's really interesting. So, well, that's interesting, Jason. And when you're doing farm and ranch and stuff, you have a lot of different issues going on there. When you're talking about having pens
that is a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, have you done farm and ranch before?
We do. We typically broker out with that, just because of the fact that that's definitely not a specialty that we do. But we do have a carrier and a broker who does nothing but farm and ranch.
It's something like I tell agents. In fact, most agents should not be selling farm and ranch because there's a lot of moving pieces, and
Very
they think,
much
oh,
so.
it's just laying in a house.
No.
No, it's not. It's pens, it's fences, it's
The
wells.
horses. Are they? There's insurance for horses for their life, for the refertilization of that. It's a lot.
And are they Arabians, or are they just some old, stable horse that you have?
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference. So I guess you can insure the
We could definitely do that. At the end of the day, our company's structured as such. We specialize in what we specialize. And what we don't do, we actually look for a very industry-strong partner that can provide those resources through our agency.
And it goes over to Michael now. I do have some expensive horses, and should I chronicle that too? Well, we get really off on a tangent here, can't we?
Do you do horse photography?
And you can double it, and then you can have some of them
Hey,
framed for 'em.
have camera will travel and shoot. That's going to be something that you can put that in there and say, but can you really give current value? of a horse as far as health and But yeah, you can document that horse. You can photograph that horse. You can have all your vet stuff scanned in. You can have current value of the horse all scanned in, all in a neat little place. If you need to document it, we can do it.
Yeah.
It might not make sense to me, but it makes sense to you.
People have show dogs, and there's a value there.
There is a value.
We're literally down to the last couple minutes of the show here, and I always like to we like to have a thing that we do on the show, the lightning round. A parting thought for the listeners, for each of your fields here. If there was one thought you wanted them to take away today, or something that you would want to encourage them to do, what would that be? Let's start with our security guy over there, and Jacoby. What would that? Talk about that.
I think we pretty much all covered it in all of our talks. Be proactive. Don't let it go. Don't wait till it's too late.
Awesome, Mike.
Take a look around your house, and if you see something you need to document and keep in a safe place, get it done. Be proactive. Call me. Take a camera yourself. Get with your insurance company and say, what can I do? You need to stop and think before it can happen, because if you have the mentality, it's not going to happen to me, it will happen.
Wow.
I say it every day, and I live by it. You are not the same person you were a year ago. Something changed. Go figure it out what it was.
There you go, guys. Man,
it does fly.
Rob.
but you know what? Michael, give your phone number one more time.
Sure, 832-247-0634.
We're not going to have enough time on that one. Well, guys, go to our webpage, and another show is out. The Real Estate Rat Pack. We'll see you next week.
And you've been listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. The question is, who's Frank, who's Sammy, who's Dean, and who's the other guy?
Chris is Frank,
I'm
he's
Dean.
Dean, and I'm Sammy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So tune in to the really big show every Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on 100.7 The Word, KKHT.